January's Tournament of Champions was a historic moment for Simon Rosner. The tree chopper came through the field to win his first ever World Series title. It was a combination of years of training for Simon Rosner on the PSA World Tour, everything coming together in his game at once in New York. The big German's been working on his game, building it year after year, but one of the primary points for me, particularly in this rally, is the use of height from Rosner to get himself out of trouble, to reset. It's not all about plan A. He's starting to develop a plan B in his game. And this was really apparent at the Tournament of Champions. The consistency of his defensive play, using it to great effect against Marwan Al-Shorbagy. And then when the opportunity arose, he went back to attack. The lob in squash is always a very underrated shot, but for somebody of Simon Rosner's size and style of play, with it being so physical, the lob is a fantastic tool for him to regain composure, to give himself a little bit of extra respite and regroup for the next shot, the next return. Another key factor for the improvement of Rosner's game in New York was the development of his base game. We've known for years that the powerful German can play at an unrelenting pace and very, very attacking, but it was the consistent, accurate, tight hitting to the back of the court, particularly on the backhand side, that made it so difficult for his opponents. When hitting down the backhand wall, primarily Rosner was working between 1 or 2 floorboards. He was that close to the sidewall, forcing so many loose balls from the likes of Gregory Gaultier out of the back corners to set up his attacks at the front. At the back end of last season, Simon Rosner was getting very, very close to massive scalps and huge wins, but it was the basic errors at crucial points that were letting him down. For me, there were no real technical questions about those errors at crucial times from Simon Rosner. It was more the belief, it was the nervous scenario, the unfamiliar scenario of being in those positions, having to play those big shots and not converting. Now that changed in Qatar when Simon Rosner reached his first semi-final of a World Series. That performance in the Qatar Classic to get to his first ever World Series semi-final has now instilled a belief in Simon Rosner that he can now win and convert these major events.
I've always been working very hard on all the aspects of my game, really. So I think the event in Qatar really, that was something where it clicked in my head. Beating Marwan in the quarters and then getting to the semi-final stage, that was something I was waiting for so long as well. And it can actually really get into your head if you kind of always get to the quarterfinal stages and you keep hearing, Simon Rosner, he reached 14 or 12 quarterfinals in the last year out of 13 or whatever, you know, like you actually don't really get to that point where you actually make it further in the quarterfinal, and then actually making it, that takes a lot of pressure and a lot of, mostly pressure away from you, and you stop thinking too much about the actual result. You just try to enjoy the game much more, and I think that's what I did in New York. After I got to the semis, I could enjoy New York much more, because I knew, okay, at least I have the semis in the bag, kind of. So I relaxed more, I enjoyed my squash more, and that's also I think the biggest part and the biggest change that has made the last couple of weeks, really.
What we're seeing now is Simon Rosner's backhand drop shot, which has become one of his key weapons on the court. It opens up options for him from that area of the court and puts an amount of doubt into his opponents. The reason Simon Rosner's backhand drop shot is so effective is firstly because it's so accurate, but also the fact that his opponents know they've got to cover the drop shot, so therefore they have to set off into that area of the court. With that in mind, Rosner has developed another edition of variations from that area of the court that pose even more problems for his opponents, and they now start to find it very hard to actually read what he's doing in that area of the court. Last season at the dying stages, Simon Rosner would run out of fuel. There was no plan B. Now that we've got this variation in his hitting, the defensive play, the accuracy, keeping the ball to the back of the court. It's giving Rosner more time on the tee. It's giving Rosner an extra recovery, so that he's therefore able to play these longer, harder, consistent matches and eventually get victories.
But yeah, it was an amazing feeling. It was a feeling that I can't describe really. It's something. Yeah, it's difficult to describe because you've been working for so many years, so hard for that success, and been professional since 13 years now, and like celebrating a win like that is just, yeah, it's just basically that means everything kind of for an athlete. I mean, and I've been waiting quite a long time for that. So the event and the whole success in New York was very special.
So there you have it, the inside line on how the Tournament of Champions was won. Join us again on Squash TV for the Windy City Open coming up later this month.